So next up, we have the second lord falling in the 8th house. It's interesting. I've decided to use the example of J.K. Rowling with this particular example. There's a tough thing going on in her chart that's worth mentioning here in terms of words, speaking to taboo things. So let's get into it. First of all, Parashara, the ancient Rishi Parashara, gives his little snippet of this yoga. It tells us that we have the wealth lord, the second, abiding in the 8th house. So the one born is joined to abundant land and wealth. There's little cause for happiness with spouse or mistress, and no happiness on account of the elder sibling. This one's one of those sort of cryptic, enigmatic ones. It's interesting that the second lord is in the 8th house, so it is opposite to itself. The second lord has its home in the 2nd house, and it's opposite to its own natural home in the 2nd house. So there's a 7th house. This kind of shows this interesting intrigue with the spouse or mistress. You know, usually, most times, the 7th house is going to be not necessarily in the nature of the sign. You know, Scorpio and Taurus aren't too opposite, but Gemini and Sagittarius are very opposite. Leo and Aquarius are very opposite. Cancer and Capricorn are very opposite. You know, it's really only Scorpio, Taurus, Libra, Aries that are kind of neutral to each other. Everything else doesn't like the 7th house from itself, typically. You know, Virgo and Pisces. You know, Virgo is where Mercury is exalted, but Pisces is where Mercury is debilitated. So these oppositions tend to happen in the 7th from itself. So it's interesting that there's little cause for happiness with the spouse or mistress, and especially no happiness on the count of the elder sibling. Now, this might be some kind of relationship of, you know, maybe the second lord is in the 6th from the 3rd house. The 3rd house usually tends to more with the elder sibling, as well as the 11th house. But I digress. You know, it's sometimes Parashara throws us these little curveballs just to make us think of the whole dimensions going on with astrology on the whole. So, the 8th house has Saturn for a Karaka. It's this sort of unstable house, as we all know. So, the 6th and the 8th are the big, really unstable houses from any place. But the 6th and 8th from the 1st house in the natural horoscope can have this instability. This is not considered an Upachaya house. Shucks, you know. I'm going to double check that because it's worth double checking. Hopefully this doesn't take forever. The Bhavas, the houses, Kendra. The 3rd, the 6th, the 10th, and the 11th are Upachayas. So the 8th house is not an Upachaya house. Upachaya houses are houses that get easier halfway through your life, specifically at the age of 36. This house, this situation will get easier at 36, but not like it will with the other Upachaya houses. So this is always going to be a bit of anything falling in the house, 8th house, tends to be always a little bit difficult. The 2nd house is a very important stabilizing point for everybody. It's the one place that we go to regenerate, to have stability, to have a consistent job that's got consistent money coming in. So the 2nd lord falling in the 8th house, we've got a risky, unstable, connecting with transformative, powerful people, showing the value that I have and bringing my values, bringing my basic resources into this unstable, moving, sexualized, erotic world of the powerful 8th house. The 2nd house is supposed to be the thing where, how do I describe it? You know, it's like, you know, you kind of we all have our own base, our own fortress, and our own agricultural stuff going on here. Our own, and we haven't necessarily explored the outer lands outside of our fortress, but we've got inside, we've got land, agriculture, places to make our stuff, our bracelets, our for our own our weapons, our tools for our own sheep, our own agriculture. We keep it inside our fortress. And then once that's finally stable, then we can kind of go out and start, tilling the land around, meeting with people, sharing land outside of ourselves, and, even doing trade-offs. I'll do a bunch of wool in this plot of land. I'll take this plot of land, I'll do wool. You can take that plot of land and do the blueberries. And then with my wool, I'll trade you with the blueberries, and we'll do the 8th house transference of resources and materials. Now, when the second lord is in the 8th house, someone powerful comes along and says, hey, I see that you've got your own little citadel here. You're all settled. How about if I take like 1/3 of your tiny little citadel and take the wool or the tools that you make there and bring it to my citadel, and then you can have a place in my capital, and you're helping me a lot by doing this, so we'll sort of merge into each other. We'll open the castle walls between each other and have these two nations kind of become one. And what happens here is that the energy that you would usually take, what most people take, to develop strength in their own second house, gets sublimated and merged into other people's stuff, which can mean that you become dependent, emotionally dependent, psychologically dependent, financially dependent. But the financial is wrapped up in an emotional, energetic circuit. Sometimes this can bring power. This can be a powerful thing. But it's an unstable place for what's supposed to be a stabilizing planet, the second lord, right? So how it's going to go depends on whether there's afflictions going on or whether this is just a nice, happy, chappy, positive second lord in the 8th house, which it always could be. It always still could be. We could take the example of someone like a Libra rising, for whom Mars, which rules Scorpio, the second house, is in Taurus in the 8th house. And then let's say Taurus, let's say the moon is there with that Taurus. That's a very easy example because the moon is exalted in Taurus. The moon is a friend of Mars, so those moon, like that would be a great, powerful placement for a person where the moon is going to help bring them emotional savvy. It's going to help to cool and ease the emotional disdain that can happen through the second house in any unstable place. The moon will know they can merge with the other kingdom in this way, but still make sure that their own kingdom is emotionally well settled. Probably from early childhood, having parents who taught them how to be strong so that they can take on this kind of second lord in the 8th house unstable arrangements, financial and energetic arrangements. As with everything with the second lord, if there's any difficulty, you kind of look at your own childhood to figure out how to deal with it, to see, like, go to a therapist and figure out what did my parents, did they feel unstable, what did they do or not do to make me feel like I'm so compulsive and dependent in my material realizations with these people, and that's the only way that I can do it. This can breed this kind of deep dependence. So there's a lot to read here, so I better start actually reading. This reading comes from The Art and Science of Vedic Astrology, Volume 2, by Richard Fish and Ryan Kirkzak. Whenever you read from this book, you're going to hear some very positive, the positive indications, and then completely opposite, polar opposite, negative indications. And they seem like, how can one person have both of these? But they need to make them extreme in order that we can, like, see them. So most people are going to be a mix of bad and good. But even if you've got mostly good stuff in there, everybody should read about the positives and see how, oh, this is what this yoga can manifest in its positive indications. And then you look at the negative stuff and like, these are things to watch out for. If you see a lot of the negative afflictions, you might think that there's nothing wrong with your placement there, but maybe there's something else in the chart causing that second lord or the eighth lord to have difficulty there, right? Something to keep in mind. So we have the ruler of the second in the eighth house. Positive influences. This is a person who tends to speak about taboo subjects. They speak, the second house is speech, voice. They speak skillfully about sex, death, the occult, and vice, eighth house stuff, kind of being wrapped into something. Their sexuality tends to benefit their finances, sexuality, eighth house, finances, second house. This person might earn, second house, through psychological counseling or occult matters. You have a lot of astrologers who are second lords in the eighth house. Although they've got to be careful with how they operate that. Because things like astrology is not just occult matters. It's also wrapped up in the ninth house. You don't want to dirty up your ninth house with too much hunger in the second house. If you've got afflictions here, there's always the capacity to feel like I'm not getting enough. I didn't get enough when I was young. I felt like I was poor. My family was poor. Now I'm going to use the power of the eighth house to get more. And that can go wrong with anything related to the second house if it's afflicted. Now, this person may deal with estate planning, wills, legacies. That might be their job. Like a will lawyer, the person who deals with wills and this kind of thing. This person could have excellent research and analysis capacity. This person might get money through psychic healing, spiritual healing, wills, legacies, as well as gambling, insurance settlements, legal matters, and through battles. And these things, when the second lord has no afflictions, these kind of things can come into this person, and it's a way for them to settle things where the law, the moment, the luck of the draw, the goodness of their true intentions carries them to great, powerful settlements. It's worth just being mindful that your own financial situation can be shaken up by the second lord and the eighth in this way, generally. For better or worse, might not always go well. This person deals in the industry of longevity, death, and dying. Whether that's health, whether that's, like hospice care, that kind of stuff. This person's voice soothes trauma, anxiety, and emotional anxiety. The person's voice through the second house can help deal with the ugly, occult, dark, scorpionic, unintegrated eighth house unconscious stuff. This person tends to be supported by their partner's wealth. That's my wealth. The second house is in the second from the seventh house. So when this goes well, there can be support from the partner. This person can work on grants. They work with chronic illnesses. That's an eighth house thing. They deal in secrets and controversy. They have an intuition that benefits their finances. Intuition is an eighth house thing that benefits the second house of their own personal financial situation. For better or for worse, you got to be careful, but this can make you someone who can use occultism or, intuition. Just using your well-honed intuition through the eighth house to chime into intelligent investments or financial decisions. This person can have sudden bursts of positive income, and they can get wealthy through land matters. That's especially their own estate, their family estate. Their family can leave them with a chunk of land that's very second house-ish, that they might be able to manage and make money from when their parents die or something like that, right? Now, these are all positive indications. Now, as we can see, we've been generous in talking about the positive things that could happen. The negative things can get really ugly with this placement. It's a, you know, as we've described, for reasons we've described, this can really cause instability. The early childhood traumas can cause a person to be willing to be very unstable with themselves, their self-value, their work. They put in a lot of effort and money, or just effort to get a lot of money, and then they put it into something that they hope is going to fix all their problems. So also chronic illnesses, you know, like let's talk about them all, okay? So these are the negative implications possible with the second lord in the 8th, especially if there's afflictions present in this situation. We have someone with chronic illness. They might have chronic illness that ruins their finances. They might lose money through legal matters. They're dependent on others for financial support. They can have major sudden changes in financial well-being. That just all of a sudden they thought they were solid with this thing, and the whole thing gets shucked out from under their feet. This is like people who, you know, it's only going to happen if you go into it with risk. The second house is more of a long game, well-diversified stock portfolio type of person. The pushy, bullish market type people are more like 8th house people. But it's very dangerous to take your own solid finances and putting it all on black, putting it all on the blackjack table. You know, so that's why these people can have sudden changes in their financial well-being. They'll really bank a lot on some kind of company, an investment that they know is going to be good, and it might be good for a long time. And then they get used to it, they get cocky, and then they find that one day they're making a lot of money from an investment, spending it all, knowing it's going to come back to me, and then it falls flat. And now they're in debt with other things. There's significations with the second lord in the 8th house of early childhood abuse, right? The unstable 8th is operating through this important early childhood emotional security paradigm. This person could be prone to lying about money or finances to make them look like they have more, whether to business partners or to relationships or to friends or just to themselves. Addiction problems and substance abuse are indicated, usually from lacking proper parental growing up, proper parental childhood stuff. They're surprised by difficulties with inheritance. They think that they're going to inherit money from their parents, and then one day they realize that, I thought that I was all good. But the second house is being scattered by 8th house forces, so you probably haven't been hanging out with your parents and your siblings. You've been taking it out into 8th house, other people, business outside of your personal family, and then one day you spend a whole bunch of time outside of your family, and then one day you find out that your parents aren't leaving you any inheritance. And, well, why not? It's like, well, why would we? Yeah, I mean, that's often how these things are. Your parents are going to give money to the ones who are in their kin, who they feel is most deserving of it. These people can have eating disorders, a second house thing in an unstable place. These people waste money, second house, on psychics, astrologers, healers, or occult matters. They can have sexual problems stemming from early childhood. They're prone to financial misfortunes, and this can be connected to that childhood stuff. When children are not feeling abundant and happy and secure when they're young, that's a vibration that sticks when you're older. There's a sudden onset of problems with face, eyes, teeth, gums, or lips. All little detailed stuff about the second house in that unstable 8th house, chronic illnesses and the like. Food causes problems with longevity. A spouse and mistress can cause mental unrest. And this person can deal in bribery. That's their way of making money sometimes, right? Very tricky placement. But, you know, the more you lean on risk, danger, things that are bad for others, the less you're going to be building on a solid foundation for your own healthy radiance of abundance towards all people around you. Take that with whatever grains of salt you wish, you know, but if you're always leaning on the dark end of the knife, and you're always leaning on, you know, like if you didn't, again, it would all stem from childhood. You didn't feel like your parents had enough to give you the love emotionally, or the financial, physical security, the education, the things that you needed to feel like you have enough to feel secure and build comfortably and strong in the world. And so the less of that you have through the second house, the more you're going to piss away your energy into little get-rich-quick schemes, into the little Hail Marys, the lottery tickets, the one thing that's going to get me there. I'm going to go learn to do sex magic in Costa Rica, and when I come back, I'm going to use my sex magic, and the abundance is going to start coming. You know, and then such people find that the real work that you need to do is just dealing with what happened to you in your childhood constructively, with people who love you, working through the stuff so that you can realize that everybody can be loved. It's just a vibration that you have to carry with you. And if you don't get it in childhood, you got to just reflect and transform your attitudes that are stopping you from not feeling the abundance that's there for everybody. So the world is the same world. We all just operate differently through it. That's what astrology teaches us, right? The example I have, I thought it was funny that J.K. Rowling has the second lord with K2 in the second house. And so the K2 lord is in Gemini, where it's kind of starved. And it's this Jupiter as the second lord, starved by Gemini, the eighth lord, Mercury. And it's got Rahu there. So there's a real desire for this Jupiter to upend itself. And there's a speech problem of talking about taboo, difficult, transformative subjects, sexual subjects. I know J.K. Rowling's gotten into some kind of things lately that kind of reminded me of that. That's why I wanted to throw that up there. I don't know too much about her finances, but obviously she must be doing some good things with that second lord and the eighth for the finances that she has. So, you know, take it all with a grain of salt, right? My name's Dustin Cormier. Thanks for watching, folks. See you on the next video.